so much.
You're welcome so much.
Yes, Lama Michael? Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
okay. Um, As you were saying, relax, the most important thing, relax is like the best thing we can do and what's needed for shamatha. And I notice I can do it, and then my mind almost yearns for distraction, like it's a form of entertainment. And wondering, as a way to build up stability in the shamatha, build up the ability to relax. I notice I can do certain tasks, like when I was a woodworker, when I could prep for days, weeks. When it came to a glue up, it might be 5, 6 hours without a break. I could focus because there was something I was doing, actively doing. And I'm wondering if I gave myself alternating task, like the doing of a contemplation or maybe an inquiry, and then let drop. And then contemplation inquiry, and then let drop and just relax. But if that would, am I fooling myself to feel, to guess that that would be useful? Or is it just a different form of entertainment distraction? That's a serious question. You're just smiling at me.
Oh, it was. Oh, sorry. I don't entertain serious questions.
With a serious face.
This is everybody's plague. We want to sit down, shut up, put our awareness on some object in the meditation, and we find that, like you say, yearning for some kind of a distraction. So, first of all, I think it's helpful to not throw anything away. Like if you can hold the view that any experience that arises is valuable, no matter what it is. And there's that quote from Kala Rinpoche that I've recently been enjoying, saying to myself that he said the best experience to rest your awareness on is the experience you hoped you'd never have. And the reason for that is also clear, that the experience you hoped you'd never have, of course, would naturally be some intense experience. Otherwise, he would have said the experience you always hoped you'd have. You know? And that was not it. So the issue was, one is extraordinarily pleasant experiences we are deeply drawn to. And those that are very painful, emotionally or physically, we are repelled by. And as we all know, the issue in the context of our Dharma practice is, how do we deal with attachment and aversion? Attachment we all enjoy, especially when it works. we feel like we've attained some level of realization. When actually what we really need to be working on is undermining the attachment. It's not the experience that's bad, it's the attachment, or conversely, the aversion. So it's not so hard to kind of fool ourselves when we encounter a very positive experience and we throw our arms around it and love it. You know, it's not so hard to think like, well, this is a nice stability. But that's why Kala Rinpoche said the best experience to rest your awareness on is the experience you hoped you'd never have. So I want to say something about that in particular because I think it's key. We tend to judge our meditation on the basis of maybe not the most useful report card. The most useful report card would include resting your awareness on whatever experience happened to arise. And in any given day, you don't have to work at it. There are experiences that arise. Memories are experiences. Physical sensations are experiences. So as they arise during the day, we instantaneously develop a relationship with the experience. I wish I wasn't having that thought again or that experience again. And so the injunction to the encouragement to honor the more difficult experiences because they contain the most power. And so the example is this little thing that I hit the bell with. I can set that down on the table and put my awareness on it, you know, and it comes and goes and comes and goes, but I put my awareness on it pretty good. And then I pat myself on the back when the session is over. I think that was good meditation. But the attachment that took me into that place is still there. So, in other words, this actually doesn't have much power. So I might have a little more power if I put a statue of the Buddha in front of me. Honestly, I'd have more power if I put a picture of my teacher in front of me. But really, there are many more experiences that you would say, I would like to have any experience but that one. And if we have to remember that the primary, the highest level of the shamatha is placing your awareness on the experience, but that is actually one level below the highest. The highest is to place your awareness on the awareness itself. And anyone who's tried it knows that is really imbued with like many layers of trickery that we play on ourselves. And if it involves pain or serious aversion, we just don't want to do it at all. So there's at some point in that thread of our meditation practice and engaging in the Dharma, we have to come to the place where when I have a really negative experience that really grabs me by the throat, the first thing I do is recognize it as a jewel. And so I place my awareness, I'm saying I'm just wanting to remove the I and saying this is what we need to do. We need to place our awareness on that as if this is the secret to understand. I hate that experience. And in the middle of it, I do my best then to put my awareness on that experience. Not as a judgment, but just to have the experience of the awareness mixed with the thing that I don't like. Now, if the thing that I don't like is also not really life-threatening or health-threatening in any way, it's helpful in the beginning to be clear and be confident that actually the meditation is not going to hurt you. And many people actually have the experience, the meditation hurts me. Putting my awareness on something which is very painful causes me more angst. So they'll say things like that. So it's hurting me more. So that then you have to back away and work with things that are not so powerful. and maybe keep in the back of one's mind that thing from Kala Rinpoche saying the best experience to have, but only really if you can put your awareness on it. Otherwise, you just run for your life. So if you can put your awareness on the experience which feels like I hate this, I want to just be rid of it, and instead just sit right in the middle of it and feel it dissolve around you, then you come to a different place in relationship to the meditation. Shamatha meditation at that point is not necessarily peaceful. If it is peaceful, we're likely to get trapped in identifying with it. Oh, I'm such a peaceful person. And then, of course, somebody you see who doesn't like you says, you are not a peaceful person. I don't like you. So then you feel like you're not peaceful, but you're likely to blame the person who pointed the finger at you. So we need to keep coming back to the experience that we're having. And the more power it has, the better. So that we can feel like in our meditation, how many times do we feel like my meditation is perfect and it lasts about as long as a marble that I'm balancing on another marble. I can put my awareness there, but as soon as I let go of it, it's gone. So that's because you don't care about the marbles. You don't care about the marbles. Who cares? I don't care about this. So it's missing one day. Who cares? The experience is best if it's something we really feel captivated by. So, for example, we often say, put a statue of the Buddha in front of you. It's best if you met the Buddha and you were overwhelmed with insight and things. Now you have an object to place your awareness on that is like really powerful. So this is one of the reasons why in our tradition we put a lot of emphasis upon the teacher and really the very exalted teachers that we occasionally meet and feel like we've been overwhelmed with blessings maybe. So now we have a powerful thing. When that experience arises periodically, we just stop everything and put our awareness on that so that we can, in that moment, feel the nature of that relationship in a positive way. So I think that's enough from me.
Yeah, so I'll be working with my delight in being distracted. But you said something else that reminded me of what I realized lately. I don't really believe that I only have this moment to practice. And so my motivation is not gripping and intense enough that it's like, oh yeah, if I don't accomplish it this session, I'll have tonight, I'll have tomorrow. And so you just reminded me of that when we really believe something or when we just tell ourselves something. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for your teaching.
Experience is king. It always is. No matter how deep our conceptual understanding goes, if it isn't a support for the experience and resting with it, then we have compromised the power of it. Go ahead. What? Oh, yes, we have to bring in the third party here. And I appreciate that.
So I kind of want to carry that further because I'm a little confused about the part where you say rest attention in this gripping kind of negative experience, perhaps. Yeah. So maybe you could elaborate, or I could even give an example of something that happens to me a lot in meditation. I will be visited by, a recent argument or a conflict with someone, either intimate or not, like someone I love or not. And I don't know, in my practice for many years, it's always been, and let that go and come back to the breath. And, let's not dwell in that. Let's not go down a story. That's not me. I don't want to identify with that story of that interaction and that experience. So I think what I was trying or have been trying is to, accept that, recognize, oh, that's just a worrying thought, or that's maybe labeled a thought, and then come back to my breath, come back to my body. What does it feel like? I guess I'm wondering what you mean by bring awareness to that, if you could elaborate.
Say that last part again.
I don't know. Yeah, what do you mean by bringing awareness to this intense experience? If it's not letting yourself go down the story or identifying with I could go for, maybe it's been 3 minutes and I've replayed an argument or something. I go, oh, wow, I left this present moment, so I come back. So I guess, I'm not seeing how they go together.
Well, maybe they don't go together.
Well, or how resting in the experience, what do you mean by that, I guess?
Resting in the experience. Well, of course, it's best to begin like we begin with this. And I think many people could go like a decade with this, and their shamatha practice will improve a little bit, maybe a lot in some cases. But we have experiences all the time. I mean, you're sitting there. If you just look in your body and in your mind, you immediately have experiences. And those experiences are more powerful than most inanimate objects that you would put in front of yourself and place your awareness on it. In other words, we're trying to balance our awareness on some other thing. And the best thing, in the end, the best thing is to balance our awareness on the awareness. But that is really very difficult. So we say that it's kind of the end point. It's like we need to be able to rest our awareness on awareness itself. You can try it. There's no harm in it. I think I can say from my own side, I tried it many times. There was no harm in it, and there didn't seem to be any benefit either. So it's kind of like, well, that's nice, but it's really not particularly compelling. So if you can develop the habit, and you can do it with almost any object that you have a relationship with. So when I say relationship, I mean an object with which your presence and that other thing results in you having an experience. And even if the experience is not big, it's likely to be more than the experience you get from this. So you remember something. Oh, I remember a big argument I had with somebody. So that's fine. Just in the moment you remember it, you have a little bit of a shock experience. Like maybe if you're thinking about it, you're thinking, God, I hope that never happens again. Or I'm going to really fix that person. That sort of thing. All of those things result in an experience. And the experience that we're just talking about, like a conflict of some kind, will result in a visceral, physical experience. And that's a fine place to put your awareness. So we could say, well, you're just putting your awareness on your body. But I don't know any other body that I appreciate more than my own. Or am more attached to than my own. And so if you're sick, you're having an experience. You can lie in bed, and you can also put your awareness on that feeling, the feeling of aversion that you have, and the feeling of the pain in the body. And if you can do that, even for 1 minute, you're likely to have a different experience than you had when you were just lying in bed and hoping that this would go away soon. Mm-hmm. So the experience is preeminent. It is the single most important thing in our entire lives. We get up, we walk around, it's like we're having experiences day and night all the time. And we also say, by the way, dead or alive. The experiences continue rolling out. Even you don't know you're dead, even you don't know you're alive. They just keep rolling out. And we think of them as not precious, when every last one of them holds a kernel of insight, if we could just place our awareness on it long enough to have that experience. So it doesn't matter what the experience is, but experience is, generally speaking, more useful than any other single thing. And if it's slightly tainted, it's probably slightly better. As long as it's not too big. The trick is you got to find your place with it. Like, if you're really good at it, like some of the Indian sadhus, they sit in flames and things. So if you're good at that, that's probably a really good thing to do. But it doesn't mean that you have to do those things. You have plenty of experiences day and night all the time. And so take one that's difficult and treat it as, this is the object of my meditation. By virtue of that alone, it is precious. It's like I'm opening up a nut, and I have never opened this nut before, so I actually don't know what is going to be in it, whether it's edible, filled with spiders, or some other thing. So when you place your awareness on the experience, it will not remain the same. As soon as you put your awareness on it, your experience in relationship changes. So you just follow that. If you can do that with your meditation, that is really very good shamatha. And it not only is very good shamatha, it instantly reveals itself as highly useful in the context of being alive in this world and having wholesome and unwholesome relationships. Is that helpful? Thank you.
Hi, Lama Michael.
Good morning.
So clearly this is probably another more evidence of my ignorance, but one will hope that, confusion arises as wisdom. So, and there's probably many more questions involved in this one question. So, you have a saying that, there's that wave again.
And that what again?
Wave. The same, it's not the same wave.
Yeah.
There's that wave again.
Yeah.
And I think you've described that in regards to looking at the experience. And I thought some of that was in regards to observing it and trying to see its true nature of like emptiness. It comes, you're gripped by it, and it goes. Also, when you were talking today about relaxing, it reminded me of what I think is the Song of Naguma, which is, the sky is empty and non-conceptual, cut the root of the conceptual mind, cut the root and relax.
Yeah.
Is the nature of awareness which is, easy to say, in this conceptual framework that we habitate, maybe not so easy to get to. Is your awareness non-conceptual? Or true awareness non-conceptual?
I think awareness is by nature non-conceptual. Is that fair?
Okay.
Your personal commentary on that experience is not necessarily deeply imbued with experience. But you can't get away from the experience also. Can you?
Good
morning.
One could try, but,
Sorry, go ahead.
You could try to get away from it, but it's there.
Yes, and would we say that trying gets you away from the experience? Yes, it does, and it lands you in another one. So it's, without complicating this, I think most people would say that any experience that I can place my awareness on and just rest on it is more helpful than putting this in front of me and resting my awareness on it. So if you have a deep sense of connection, devotion with the Buddha, and you put a Buddha statue in front of you, that can be really helpful. And many people use that as their primary thing. If they don't have the statue, they visualize the image of the Buddha and so on. And I can say from my own experience that works great once you have the relationship. But if somebody just gives you a statue and you have no relationship, no teachings, no connection to it, and you're going to rest your awareness on that, it can be that it's almost completely devoid of experience. You're trying to have a relationship with the Buddha, and so your closest connection is this statue. But it doesn't always work great. So it's helpful a little bit to receive some teachings on the Dharma. Oh yeah, and these are the same as what the Buddha gave? Yeah, it's the same exactly what the Buddha gave. And there's many more things. So you get piece by piece and you start to have a relationship with it. Now the statue is a little more useful, a little more interesting. It grabs you a little bit more. It's like seeing people go down the street that you don't know, and then you meet somebody and you have a relationship with them. Even if it's only, good morning, it's a nice day, I hear it's going to snow. Yeah, okay, well, already there's a relationship with just something there, and you can turn around and walk, and while you're walking away, place your awareness on the experience of just having that very short conversation with somebody you never knew before and may never see again. And immediately you have a different sense. That experience now is three-dimensional. It's not just a simple memory. Now it is much more imbued with things. And that's a very simple example. So if someone calls you up and you get in a big argument with them, if you could place your awareness, which you probably will not be able to do, but if you could place your awareness on the experience as it is unfolding, anyone who has done that will immediately agree that it radically changes the conversation 100%. And you have the power and the authority to do that at any moment. So the mystery is, why the hell aren't we doing it?
Easier, it's hard.
Who said that? Yeah. Thank you, Phil, for passing that around. And if there's more, we have time. Some.
Hi. I'm curious, when you speak of sentient...
Hold the microphone. If
When
you
you
point the mic at your mouth, it works great.
Okay, how's that?
There you go.
Great. I'm curious if you could speak to sentient beings and what is meant by that.
Sentient being.
The what?
What's a sentient being?
Well, what's a sentient being? I remember all the way back in the 70s when the great teacher Kala Rinpoche was mentioning that, and the translator kept referring to sentient beings. And I think there was probably no one in the room except the translator who had ever heard that word before. What is this thing that you're talking about, this confused thing and this all of these things? And so finally, somebody managed to ask the question, and the translator basically said, Rinpoche, they don't know what a sentient being is. And he was speaking in Tibetan, of course, so we just heard the translation. And so Kala Rinpoche then, he laughed at that, and he says, it's you. And then elaborating a little bit, it came to the point of anything that has a mind is a sentient being. But then he elaborated it just a little bit, and he said, fundamentally, it's anything that has a confused mind. And then, as he went on, you suddenly realize that, I'm not sure I've ever met one of those latter ones. Like, not confused, I don't know who that is anymore. I mean, if I look at an ant crawling along the ground, I'm not sure what confusion means to that ant. But from our own perspective, he then went on to talk about the nature of confusion. And of course, we could each talk about it endlessly. The nature of confusion, the absence of utter clarity in relationship to our experiences. So here we are, back to experiences again. If I have a difficult experience that I would not especially choose to have, but as we know, most of our experiences we did not choose to have. We categorize them as pleasant and unpleasant and in between, but we didn't necessarily choose to have the vast majority of them. So he was just saying that sentient beings, of course, are continuously imbued with experience. Again, day and night, dead or alive. They just roll out continuously. The nature of mind is that it is an experience machine. It generates experiences continuously. So not understanding the nature of those experiences is the nature of confusion. And sentient beings live in the world of confusion without recognizing the nature of that confusion. And so they suffer. Of the many ways we can talk about the causes of suffering, that's one of them. We don't recognize the nature of our own experience. So we may be having a really beautiful, joyful experience, but not recognizing the nature of it. When that experience dissolves, we're likely to feel unhappy about losing the experience or something else about it. Is that enough about suffering, or suffering's easy to elaborate on?
Thank you.
So when I see an organism, how do I know whether that organism has a mind and
Yeah.
is worthy of my efforts?
What was that? What did I miss?
How does he know it's worthy of his
Oh,
efforts? Yes,
worthy of suffering or being free of it?
his efforts.
Oh,
Of being saved.
Worthy of being saved. Like bodhisattva vow, kind of.
yeah.
Or getting like a bug or something.
Yeah.
Is that
Yes.
when you want to kill it?
Yeah.
Yes. How do I make that determination?
Yeah.
Where is that mind?
Like when you're a doctor, can you write a prescription for a bacteria or for a yeast cell or that will kill a parasite like a worm? If somebody has worms in their gut and you want
Yeah.
to kill the worms,
Yeah.
that put you as a bodhisattva in training.
Well, it's just not simple. For starters. You have worms and you take a medicine, you kill the worms, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a different answer here in a kind of larger context of the Dharma. And then there's another answer which is about our lives and the culture that we live in, and many other characteristics that surround us most of the time. So I think the first thing is that I want to go back to the simple statement that we were looking at some weeks ago, where we were I want to say, entertaining ourselves with talking about the Dharma. And the phrase that I found kind of interesting to propose is that we are utterly unable to accomplish our own benefit. When we look close at that in the context of the Dharma, we can say, absolutely, not able to accomplish our own benefit. And the reason is that when we make an effort to accomplish our own benefit, even in a small way, we're meditating and feeling better. Hey, I'm getting somewhere. We measure the thing on the basis of how better I feel. If I'm feeling good, then I must be doing something good. But actually, I can say from my own personal experience, I have felt good about terrible things in the past, terrible things that I did. So it's not quite a good measurement, just that I'm feeling good today. And I think if we look at it even in a slightly shallow way, the grand proposition in the Mahayana tradition is the expression of bodhicitta. And bodhicitta is about benefiting others, which right offhand, the first person who has never heard it before will say, well, when do I get to benefit myself? And then they hear, oh no, that never happens. You never want to do that. You really want to benefit others, even when you don't want to. And so you have to get this sense that actually it may be true. I cannot benefit myself. I can only benefit others. And from benefiting others, the benefit flows from them and accomplishes the benefit of all sentient beings. And I'm not enlightened, so that makes me a sentient being. So the benefit I experience comes from others. And we codify that and elaborate on it in many different ways, and many practices where we accomplish the benefit of others through rituals and things, and the others aren't even there. Or are they? So I want to tell this story that many of you heard, so I apologize in advance. It's short. I apologize for its shortness and the fact that I'm saying it again. Guilty on all accounts. Does everybody know Thomas Merton? Yes. Personally? No, just, okay. Well, I had, through his writings, kind of a love affair with him. I loved what he said and the things that he said in many places. So he lived in a little hut near the monastery, and there was people would come to him for advice. And so one day there was a young monk who was going to see him, and the young monk came, knocks on Merton's door. And so Thomas Merton comes and he says, so what are we doing today? And why are you here? And the young monk says, Father Merton, I would like you to advise me on what the best thing that I could do with my life is. What is the best thing that I could do? And Merton says, he quips, he says, I thought you were going to bring a difficult question. And then he says, it's fundamentally easy. You spend your life doing what you can to become a saint. Period. That's it. Every minute that you put your effort there will be a fruitful minute. So if you do that every minute of your life, you will have the best life that you could possibly have had. Simple, straightforward advice. I think it translates almost one for one to the practice of bodhicitta. Because those who practice bodhicitta endlessly, they become bodhisattvas, which is our word for a saint, kind of. So I think that's when we look at things like bugs and and things that we eat and kill and eat. We cannot entirely get away from harming others. It's inherent in the conditions within the confused world. You take a breath, almost without exception, on that breath there are living things. And that living thing dies. And many things, when we walk on the ground, we kill things, we're continuously harming other beings. And even with extreme cases, it's like we still end up harming beings. It's like not possible to completely escape doing that. So we put more effort into benefiting more beings, whether they are single-celled amoebas or human beings or whatever, to just spend our lives, I think this was what Merton was looking at, spend your life working to benefit others. And you can benefit yourself, but the more that you focus on the benefit of others, the more you will benefit others, and the more happy you will be for it. It's kind of the simple formula, and it's greatly elaborated in texts on the practice of bodhicitta and other practices, that you put your effort into benefiting others. That is how your benefit is accomplished. And it sounds like, on the surface, like we have here a martyr tradition. Like, when do I get mine? And I think the answer to that is, you get yours in every minute that you even just hold the wish for the benefit of others. And when you hold the wish to harm someone, you annihilate that whole path for some period of time. So some people will say extremely that if you make the wish to harm someone, you literally kind of obliterate your path. But it's not permanent. It's obliterated in that moment, and it can be resurrected again at any moment when you realize, phew, that was a mistake, and you move into it in a different way. But filling our lives with the aspiration to benefit other beings is fundamentally the cause of joy and happiness. It doesn't come by virtue of searching for it for ourselves, even though we can fool ourselves on that score. When we look at it deeply, we can see that actually the intention to benefit others, the continuous wish that they would be free of suffering, is actually the cause of our happiness. Try it. At least. Okay. We're getting close to the end of the world here. This virtue may I quickly realize, Mahamudra, and establish all beings without exception in that state.
Thank you, Michael.
What's our schedule?